Hi, this is Mike Swanson of Wall Street Window, and I got Andy Emerson with me right now. How you doing, Andy?
Just fine, Mike. Just fine. How you been doing?
Okay. Well, I guess you saw the carnage today in the stock market. The Dow was down over 500 points. S&P 500 fell about 6%. And they're both sitting already on their October lows after we've had, a little bit of a bounce off of them and back and forth motion the past 2 weeks. But now we're sitting right on them again. Looks kind of a little worrisome right there. What do you think?
Mike, I really think it looks, taking a look at it 2 weeks ago, that usually should have been a bottom in the market. We were down really, and we saw a big jump back up. And, the next day we had a lot of volume and everything. But this market's different than any market that we've ever seen. Now we're a couple of weeks from putting in that bottom. But after today's action, Mike, I believe I know we're going to test the lows, and most likely we're going to break those lows. And what happens after that is going to get really interesting, because I've never, in all my studies of the market and studying, we've been trading for a long time, and just looking at historical charts and looking at the percentages of this drop in this bear market that we've seen, and especially the past month. And now the market's in a position, if it makes a new low here, we're getting ready to see something possibly that we haven't never seen before. I know you and I have talked about it, that, over the years we've said many times that, hey, we might get to a point one day, because we saw this all coming over the years, but I believe we're here.
Well, I don't know if anyone's ever seen anything like this. The other week when the market fell so bad and then finally, put in a low of some sorts, and that weekend now, I was looking through the charts. There's this real excellent article somewhere, I think it was on the Washington Post, where they had a comparison of all the bear markets and how they traded out. And, this bear market here, from the drop of October to now, the depth of it and the speed of it only compares to two. One was the 1929 to 32 bear market, and then one that started in the early 40s. But the thing about the position now is that 29 bear market went on for basically 3 years. Then the Dow fell like 70%. But if you looked at it from the first year, from the point, comparing from where it began to where, the time frame of where we would be right now, the market had a very similar drop percentage-wise from where it bombed 2 weeks ago. But in 29, also in the 40s, you had a big rally right afterwards. It lasted for several months. So I can't find, and those are the two worst bear markets, basically. And I can't find any bear market where the market had fallen as much as it has now without having a really significant rally. So if we go lower again from here, there's really no comparison to it for anything in the United States. And I don't know about elsewhere, but it's pretty shocking if that were to happen. And right now the market sitting on those lows doesn't look too promising.
Mike, looking at the action that we saw today, the market bounced on the close a little bit and everything, but the market has basically set itself up, with a huge gap down, finishing down 500 points. The volume picked up a little bit. And now the resistance is even that much larger on top of it. I had made a comment about 3 or 4 days ago that the market had fallen so fast downwards so quickly that the resistance would just be enormous on the market. And that's what we're seeing. Well, today's action has caused the market to have even more resistance. The resistance, actually the heavy resistance, is actually moving down on top of this, on the market, every 2 or 3 days at a lower level. And we only have, we had this support that we made a couple of weeks ago, and I can just tell we're going to break that. And I've never seen anything. I don't know how to figure this, but all I know that it scares me a little bit, because I'm seeing stocks that were $130, $140, $150 that are now $25, $30 are falling 60, 70%. You're seeing that in a lot of the commodities and bank stocks. There's stocks all across the board. There's never seen anything. You can do all the charting you want for the past 30, 40, 50 years. You've never seen nothing to beat it. this market makes a new low right here, I'm starting to get this feel that we're going to see like a liquidation. You're going to just see forced sales. I mean, it's at a point that people will just, they'll just bail. You can't take a $10 billion hedge fund. The guy's down 45-50% in this thing, and he's sitting there holding $10 billion, and he's thinking, well, this thing has got to bounce. If I'm going to be down, I want to be down 20% for the year. Next thing you know, Mike, he's down 65%.
Well, that's the real danger point in the market right now is all these hedge funds. If they continue to have to liquidate, they'll just pressure everything, and they'll be folding up and going out of business.
Well, yeah, and it doesn't take much of that, Mike. It ain't just hedge funds. I mean, it's it's a lot of mutual funds and a lot of banks that'll be selling, and this is getting ready to do something that's I just really believe is that something's getting ready to happen here. You can see it in the charts that, they'll be talking about for the next 50, 60, 70 years. They'll be writing books on this one.
Well, there's so many things we've seen all year, oversold readings, investors' intelligence showing everyone to be bears and so forth, and the market has declined anyway. But now, a lot of those indicators, I just stopped, paying any attention to them. But right now, there's some indicators that, I think have always been useful to follow, like the VIX, which is doing things never seen before. It's been above 50 for 3 weeks now, and I don't think it's ever been above 50 for more than a week.
Hey, Mike, take a look at the VIX, the chart of the VIX. And basically, after today's action, the VIX is back up into a consolidating range. And if we pause here for I don't know how many days, it could be 2, 3 days or whatever, basically the VIX is getting ready to break out.
Yeah, to an even crazier level.
Yeah, look at, the VIX is going to be above 100.
Which is crazy.
The VIX is going above 100. I don't know how far it's going to go, but if it breaks out of this 75, 80 range right here, I'm looking at a chart. Look at this thing.
And for those who don't know, who listen to VIX, what it does, it measures the premiums investors are paying for puts, and they buy it as insurance against their stocks or mutual funds or whatever. So when that gets to a real high level, it indicates a lot of fear in the market. And it's at levels, never before ever seen, and staying there.
Yeah, but, we're consolidating there. And, if you flip that over, you're basically taking a look at the, the general market and where the market's at. And basically, market's going to, I made a comment, Mike, 3, 4 days ago that if the market would fall here, would do a double bottom that was, you spread this bottom out over 4 or 5 weeks, and the volatility were to shrink near the lows, you could possibly fit in a double bottom over the course of a, 3, 4 week. But when you're seeing action where the market's down 500, 600 points on volume pickup, and we have only consolidated for 2 weeks, that's not what I'm talking about. This thing is setting up for a clean out, another one. You would think that we've already got a washout in the market, and we did. And this thing is setting itself up.
Well, it's almost like the gold stocks. When I went out of town in September, how much they fell, and the XE to gold ratio and all these other indicators reached levels never seen either. And you're like, this certainly has to be the bottom, and they did bounce. And next thing you know, they trade down and break that, which is pretty amazing. And now the market's in the same position that. Very similar. You would think, my gosh, it has to bottom out, from what it did the other week, and now here we are ready to break down. And I hope they don't do what the gold stocks did. How much they've fallen in the past couple of weeks.
That's a very good point. If you take a look at the gold sector, it's almost like there's just complete liquidation that's constantly going on. It's just like this unwinding of hedge funds, mutual funds, and it's almost like you're just seeing margin calls left and right in this sector. I've never seen a sector. You can go and study it all you want. You're not going to see a sector break down like that without bouncing first. That type of decline normally takes 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, a couple months.
Yeah, and 2 months later, we're sitting here. We're getting ready to test the 02 lows. We went through the 06, 07 consolidation lows. Now we just went through the 04, 05 consolidation lows. There's no support. It's just nothing but sellers. And, and a lot of people say, well, how can a market go so low? Well, it doesn't take, if there's not a lot of buyers and the a few sellers stepping up, the stocks are going to go lower.
Yeah.
You know, and are we getting ready to see something similar in the market? You know, Mike, the market to me, you take a look at the gold sector and back up 2 weeks, and you saw where the gold sector should have bottomed around, the XAU probably around 111 about 2 weeks ago, and it bounced up really strong, and then it just made new lows and hasn't dropped another 20%. Well, are we getting ready to see something similar to that in the market? Because that's how the market has set itself up.
Well, I think we'll know in the next couple of days. It had basically cast the hold up next 3 or 4 days, and if it doesn't, then that's what we're going to start to see. And we'll know, I guess, within a week or sooner.
You know, and I agree 100%, Mike. You know, I've completely got away from the market here the past week or two. It's just the risk to reward, and which we've talked about a few times. It's just, how do you trade this? You know, this market's not tradable. This is not a normal bear market pullback. This is something right here, you know, you can try to make money, but it's just pure luck if you're on the right side, and it's almost like you got to sell it that day. So, you know, I'm really glad I'm on the sidelines on this one, and, you know, I have no idea where you would try to buy this market or try to, you know, hey, you never know what cheap is because, you know, stock can go.
No, this is a market you basically have to follow on a day-by-day basis until you finally see something that, you know, looks like it proves that it's put in a bottom. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk with us and everything.
Mike, enjoyed it, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.